The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder Pastor Quiboloy is now a wanted fugitive with trafficking charges in the United States. With that, we have Chief State Legal Counsel Attorney George Orta II joining us via Zoom to give us more details on this. And also, let's ask about the DOJ's action regarding this matter. Good afternoon, Attorney George.
Good afternoon, Riza. And good afternoon to all your viewers and listeners.
Yes, Attorney, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Do we have an update on the extradition request on Quiboloy?
Well, as far as the DOJ is concerned, we are not aware of the existence of any.
Okay. Attorney, so what other actions could the U.S. take to get a hold of him?
Well, if they want to have him, if the U.S. wants us to bring the person of Quiboloy to the United States, they will have to file a request for extradition pursuant to the PH-US extradition treaty.
And Attorney, should the United States send its request to extradite Quiboloy, how long would that process take?
Riza, part of the process is judicial. So we really cannot say how long it will take. No? It is relatively a formal process. No? It's not just the executive branch, but also the judicial branch of government. If you want, I can briefly explain to you the process.
Yes, sir, please.
So if the U.S. wants us to extradite Pastor Quiboloy, the U.S. Department of Justice will send its request for extradition via diplomatic channels. So it's very formal. So from U.S. DOJ, it goes to the U.S. State Department. Then from the U.S. State Department, the request is transmitted here in the Philippines to the U.S. Embassy here in Manila. From the U.S. Embassy in Manila, the request will be transmitted to our Department of Foreign Affairs. It is our DFA which will make an initial evaluation of the request. So is this request compliant with the requirements of the extradition law and extradition treaty? If the answer is yes, then the DFA will transmit the request to the Department of Justice. And we will make our own evaluation, Riza. And if we find merit to the request, then the DOJ will file the petition for extradition before our courts here in the Philippines. We usually file it with the regional trial court here in Manila. So the petitioner would be the United States government, which is being represented by the Department of Justice. So from the courts, if whatever would be the decision of the courts, as you know, Riza, it may be the subject of appeal, depending on the resolution of the trial court.
Attorney Orta, is Pastor Quiboloy also included on the Interpol Red Notice list? If so, does this mean our authorities can actually arrest and detain him pending an extradition request?
I'm sorry, Riza, I am not aware of or whether Pastor Quiboloy is in the Red Notice list.
Okay, Attorney, how about, would like to know if the Justice Department will investigate any possible related crimes by Quiboloy that is or have been committed perhaps here in the Philippines?
Of course, if we came to know of any such complaint, then we will do our part in the investigation of the case.
Final question, Attorney, is the Department of Justice planning to hold or issue a whole departure order or an immigration lookout bulletin for Quiboloy anytime soon?
Okay. With respect to a whole departure order, unfortunately, the DOJ has no authority to issue such an order. Well, it's only the court right now which can issue a whole departure order. Until a law is passed giving the DOJ that power, we cannot do so. With respect to the immigration lookout bulletin that you mentioned, we still exploring the possibility of the propriety of the same, the issuance of an ILBO. However, let me clarify, Risa, that an immigration lookout bulletin order does not work the same way as a whole departure order, meaning it does not prevent the person subject of the ILBO from leaving the country. It is only for monitoring purposes.
Well, understood. Thank you very much. That's a DOJ Chief State Legal Counsel, Attorney George Orta.
Thank you, Risa.
Meanwhile, the Health Department logs over 6,800 new COVID-19 infections today. The caseload stands at above 3,616,000, 116,000 of which are still active. NCR remains on top of the list of regions with the highest new cases. The nationwide virus death toll is now at more than 54,500 with 12 new fatalities. Recoveries surged to 3,445,000 after over 16,300 new survivors were logged. Now, the positivity rate dropped to 19.1%, the lowest since December 30, 2021. This means around 1 out of 5 tests recently conducted yielded positive results. The COMELEC is reminding candidates about the do's and don'ts of in-person campaigning as the official period begins tomorrow. Greg Gregorio is reporting to us live from the COMELEC office in Manila to tell us more about this. Greg, good afternoon. What are the things that the candidates can and cannot do during campaign rallies?
Hi Risa, good afternoon. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, candidates are still allowed to conduct indoor and outdoor campaign activities such as meetings, caucuses, conventions, as well as motorcades and caravans. But all of these are subject to the approval of the COMELEC Campaign Committee. The Commission established this committee to regulate which activities may be done in a particular area depending on the COVID-19 situation in that very area. And every candidate must apply to the COMELEC Campaign Committee whenever they want or whenever they plan to conduct an activity in any area. And apart from this, because this is the first ever campaign amid the pandemic, there are also a lot of things that can no longer be done, such as the house-to-house campaigning, hugs, kisses, or crowdings that would violate social distancing and minimum public health standards, as well as distribution of food and drinks. Riza?
Greg, Senator Manny Pacquiao appealed for looser restrictions. Do we have news or has the COMELEC responded to that? And are there any other candidates running again for May 2022 polls appealing for the same eased guidelines?
Riza, for now, it is only presidential aspirant and Senator Manny Pacquiao whom we have heard appealing for the COMELEC to loosen their restrictions about the things that cannot be done in their campaign activities during this pandemic, particularly the taking selfies or distribution of shirts. We have relayed this concern of Senator Pacquiao to the Commission, but the COMELEC has yet to respond, and we will try again to have the Commission's statement on this. But if we are to, based on the recent statements or the previous statements of the Commission, they have highlighted that all of these are measures to prevent a further surge of COVID-19. Riza?
Greg, a PCIJ report says some candidates have spent at least 500 million pesos on campaign ads. Do we have information on who has spent the most according to this report?
Yes, Risa, based on that PCIJ report based on data from Nielsen, it has reported that Senator Panfilo Lacson, the presidential aspirant Panfilo Lacson, was reported to have spent close to 1 billion or 915 million pesos for advertisement. He's followed by Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, who was reported to have spent around 700 million pesos. Next is the Vice President Leni Robredo, who was reported to have spent about 500 million pesos. And then presidential aspirant and former Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who was reported to have spent around 330 million. And Pacquiao, or Senator Pacquiao, came in fifth, who was reported to have spent just around 1.7 million pesos, but only for print ads. Riza?
Greg, are there COMELEC guidelines regarding campaign spending, and how much can a candidate actually spend?
Yes, Risa, based on the Fair Elections Act, there are certain limitations on how much each candidate may spend on, depending on the numbers of the registered voters, or depending on the positions they are running to, or also depending on where they have filed their certificate of candidacy. For example, for those who are running for president or vice president, they are allowed to spend maximum of 10 pesos per registered voter. So if we are having 65 to 67 million registered voters for the May 2022 polls, each of this presidential and vice presidential aspirants may spend up to around 650 to 670 million pesos. But aside from that, their part, if they are running under a political party, their party may spend about 5 pesos per registered voter. So, Risa, the provision of the Fair Elections Act for the campaign spending is decreasing depending on the number of the registered voters where they are running. So it would be much smaller if an individual is running in a locality. Earlier, COMELEC Director 3 Eliza David clarified that the the spendings that have been mentioned in the PCIJ report are not still part of the monitored spending by the COMELEC, because all the spending that will be monitored would only start tomorrow as the campaign period starts for those running for national posts. Riza?
Well, thank you for that update. That's Greg Gregorio reporting live from COMELEC in Manila. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now, www.signalplay.com, and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.